Hey everyone, so what we'll do today is try a new format. It's basically going to be like a live coding class, and we're going to take a look at several things. So it's not one specific thing that we're going to do, but we're going to roll up our sleeves, get our hands dirty, and just do some cool stuff. So you'll learn some stuff along the way as we do it. So the idea here is basically to add a new button to a specific subpanel. So in this case, it's the subpanel that is found. So it's the button that is here. What we're also going to do is, once we point this button to a custom edit view, we're also going to pass some stuff along to that edit view that is then going to display it on the page. So that is all going to make sense in just a second, but some interesting stuff that you will probably use in your coding as well. So the first thing that we'll do is we'll modify this subpanel metadata, a subpanel metadata file that's responsible for rendering this stuff here. So we're going to open it up inside the module that we're currently viewing. So it's the UN inventory module, and we're going to find it here. So it's going to be inside the following path: custom, extension, modules, UN inventory extension, layout depths, and then the name of the layout. So this is if your module is a custom one that you've created. If it's not, it may be in a different location. So, but most probably it will be here. So that's the file that we're opening up, and here we see the definition for this subpanel. Before it was like this. So if we refresh it, we can actually see what it does is that it has a. I'm going to repair and rebuild the system in order to get it to show the change. So we're going to go here, we'll click refresh, and then just so you see how it works. So on the bottom here we have two buttons now, so create and select. So I don't want select, I'm just going to comment it out like so. There you go. And then we have here the widget class called subpanel top create button. So this is one of a trickier buttons to work with. And normally what you would be doing is you would find a file that corresponds to this widget class, and you would find it inside the include generic sugar widgets, and then you would look for it inside the sugar widget subpanel, and then you would look for top create button. You would take this file, you would copy paste it into the customs folder, so it's upgrade safe. And then once that is done, you would be able to add additional stuff to it. The subpanel top create button does not have a dedicated file. It actually comes from the subpanel top button. That's it, just the subpanel top button. So it comes from this one here. And what I did is I prepared a button class, a file that contains a class for this button that is that's been already reworked and arranged for us. So what we need to do is give it a different name. So subpanel top create button, we're going to give it something unique. So let's say bulk deposit. That's the name that I'm going to use. So this file, there needs to be a file now for this widget inside the following location. So custom include generic sugar widgets. And then here we would add it like so. So it's going to be the name. It needs to be prepended with the following: sugar widget. That's the format, and then the name of the button .php. All right, so here's the file, and now we're going to populate it with the stuff from here. So I'll include a link to this file here. We're going to go here, copy paste. The class name needs to match the name of the file, and obviously the name that we have here. So let's make sure that that's the case. So sugar widget, we're going to leave it here, and then we're going to add this sugar widget subpanel top create button bulk deposit. Okay. Now there's one more step that we're going to do, is that it extends the default class called sugar widget subpanel top button, which has a file that contains it, which is here, include generic sugar widget subpanel top button. This file contains this class. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy this file, So this one, custom, actually include sugar widget, sugar widget subpanel, top button here. So this one we're going to copy it. Then we're going to bring it inside the custom include generic sugar widgets. Going to drop it here, PHP file, sugar widget subpanel, top button, and then I'm going to give it the name basically like this, C underscore. Ah, okay, I should have copy pasted it, I guess, right? So underscore, I'm going to remove this one. I'm going to paste it here, and then we have our button here. So then I'm going to point to this new button. So I'm going to go like this, copy path, like this, and then we're going to reference it here. So this is the name that is going to be referenced now. So it's going to take this class from this location this time. And inside this file, we need to do one modification, which is going to be this. So we're going to remove this line of code. So okay. Actually, this is what it's going to look like on your side. Before the previous code was modified, we're just removing this here. It does not equal action. Why? Because if we are to point this file, I mean, here right now when we click create, it's going to point us to the edit view. That's what's going to happen. If we point to a custom view, this is not going to work unless we remove this line of code. So to dive even deeper, let's take a look at the button right now. And this button is essentially a form that is going to get, another example here is a button like this. So basically you can see here that it's a form with a whole bunch of fields that get submitted. And when we click this button, it submits the form. And here there is an action that gets assigned. So basically if we don't remove this part here, that is here, then we're not going to be able to specify a custom action to which we would like to point. So I don't want it to go to the default edit view that is here. I want it to go to a new view, like a new action basically, that is going to be get opened up. And just to remind you that a view is a action. So right now we're looking at the module called UN inventory, and the action that is taking place is a detail view action. So if I want to create a new view, like a whole bunch of different fields, like things are going to look different, it's going to be, we can often create like a new custom view, and essentially that's it. So if I want to point to a custom view, that line of code needs to go. So let's keep it simple like that. Boom. My original file here was slightly modified, so what I'll do is I'll just remove this on my end, like this, and like this. Okay, perfect, and that is done. So I'm going to save. And now I'm going to work on the file itself, so the file here. So the class is called this, create bulk deposit. And when we looked at the form before, if you remember, we saw a whole bunch of things appear here. Those are the hidden form fields. They can be entered by adding stuff to the additional form fields module. So this part here. And this is what's going to determine, this is what is going to determine where the person is going to get redirected. So in my case, the module that I want is going to be this. Okay, so let's just stop here for now. Let's just do this. This is done. I'm going to repair and rebuild and see if the change actually worked. So we'll see, maybe it didn't work. Okay, so that part is done. I'm going to go here. Let's refresh the page and take a quick look. All right, so Let's learn from this. Fatal error. Cannot declare class sugar widget subpanel top button because the name is already in use. Huh. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Perfect. So this is going to be top button C. This is going to be the class. So so you see here I'm pointing to that I'm extending a class. This class has already been declared somewhere. So I'm going to go like this, see? And I'm going to point to the custom name. So this file is now going to contain a custom class name like this. So not the default one that's been, not the previous one that's been declared before, but a new one. So let's repair again. Okay, let's go here and we're going to refresh. Okay, so here it is. So let's see, I'm going to right click, inspect the code, see if my stuff took place here. So action is bulk storage edit. Bulk storage edit, bulk storage edit. Bulk storage edit, hold on a sec. And by the way, this is a good thing to mention here. So you see here, I opened up this file here as an example, and then I modified this file. The two are very similar, so you will have problems if you code enough in SuiteCRM that you're going to be modifying the wrong file. So if you're able to lock the file, like for example in PHP Storm you can do it, then definitely lock it. And I was looking at the wrong value, so what I want to see is the module, not the action, but the module. So Ildar deposit is the module now. Ildar deposit, yeah, module is Ildar deposit here. So we can see here that there's stuff on top which has a different value. And for example, here we have the action as the edit view, and here we have the action below, which is the bulk storage edit. So this is not the cleanest code, obviously, but this will get overwritten by this because it has higher priority, basically. So this gets declared, but then this gets redeclared on top of this, basically. Let's take a look at the other stuff. So for example, the return module is the projects. So that means that once we click this button here, let's take a look. I go here. There's no action by that name, bulk storage edit. And that's actually true. There is no such view. So it's actually bulk deposits. That's the view. So we're going to go here. We're going to go here, then we'll click on create, like that button here. And that's the form that comes up. This is a custom edit view which was created. There's a separate video that talks about custom edit views on the channel. So that part was already done before. It can be a little bit trickier, but so this is a created edit view. Once this form is submitted, it's going to return us somewhere. So that's the return module part that we enter here. So I want the user to go back to this part here, UN inventory, and the return action is going to be detail view, and the return ID is going to be defined focus ID. So let's take a look here. It's good to see everything in rather on the screen. So let's inspect the button. So you see it says return ID matches whatever is in focus. So what is in focus? It's this df6b, df6b. See? So that means that once we submit the form here, everything is good. We're going to go back to exactly the same place. The action is going to be detail view, module is going to be this, and the record is going to be that. So that's what we specify here. If you want the person to go to a different place, you would specify that here. Another thing is that the title is not the title that I want to see. It's not create multiple, but something else. So right now we're in strings. We're going to create a new language label. So how do we do that? We're going to go to the following place. So it's custom, extension, modules, name of the module, extension, languages, and it's here that we're going to edit. So it's going to be mod strings. I'm going to say label, deposit, subpanel, create, like that. Pretty specific. Create deposits, like this, for example. going to use this label here. I'm going to put it here. So it's going to be mod strings, boom. Then the value title is going to be mod strings, like that. Perfect. This module should be, we need to update this also. This is good. So I just did a repair on the background. In the background, I'm going to refresh to see. So right now it says create multiple. And if we refresh, give us a nice long error message. Undefined index label deposit subpanel create. So we did something wrong here. Mod strings. Okay, so my problem is that it's mod strings, which are module strings, and we should be using app strings because this button here can be reused across multiple modules. So it's not going to go to that specific module and look for that label. So you see this label here is part of a specific module. So it's this one, custom extension modules, name of the module. So we need to modify like a label that's application wide, basically. So if we go here, gotta keep that label though. Sorry, it's 2 a.m. here. So okay, I'm gonna go to the extension. It's actually going to be in custom extension application extension language, and then we're going to create a new label or use an existing one. So let's use an existing one, which is here, app list strings. That's actually somewhere else. So this is the it's in custom, include, then language, and then here. Okay, perfect. So we're going to go here all the way to the bottom. It's going to be declared in the following format. Oops, okay, I need to put this strings create deposits. So we did a repair and rebuild. Let's see if it works this time. So create deposits. Yep, nice. So we click this and we're brought to the custom view, basically custom edit view. All right, so we talked about that on this, in this place here, in this custom view, I want to pass some values to this view here. And this is extremely simple if we modify the previous file that we looked at before, which is this one here, the one that creates a form that gets submitted. So here for fun, I put a field called ping, whose value, key called ping, whose value will be pong. And we can see it when if we inspect the create button. So what happens is that this value here is going to get picked up by the view definitions file of that custom action. So this custom action here, called bulk deposits, has a file that's associated with it that explains, like basically dictates how it works. And I can pick up the value of that ping that got submitted, that field ping, by basically looking at what's inside the request. And you'll need 2 videos to understand this whole thing. So the first one is the custom, I'll put the links in the bottom. So it's adding a custom edit view. So that's going to explain to you how to even create this custom edit view. And the other one is for this function here, which is called write to log. And I think it's the single most important function that I use inside SuiteCRM for programming, because it you use that to see what is actually happening. Without this function, I don't know, I wouldn't be able to work. So there's a video that explains how to create this function also, which is found here. It's called do not program in SuiteCRM without this function. So pretty dramatic title, and it's a very useful function. Okay, so that's nice that we were able to get that function out on the screen, but that's not very useful for us in terms of the form itself. So what I want to do is I want that form that appears here to actually get the value of that field and use it when we submit the form. So I'm going to pass some stuff to this field here, to this screen here, that is going to contain a field and a value, and I want that field and value to be pre-entered inside this form. So how do I do this? Also extremely simple. You just need to do it inside the inside the view definitions file for this edit view. So just to mention something very important, it's in the video it was mentioned that it's either one or the other that you can use. You can either pass the values here or you can pass them here. You can choose, and that's actually incorrect. So you pass the values here to this screen here, and then on this screen you specify which values will actually be part of that record. So if you want to include this as part of the record that's getting created, you would need to pass the value here. Same thing for this. So a very important correction. You will pass them here inside your create button to the edit view, and inside the edit view you create these hidden form fields, which will make sure that those fields are included in your record. And then they will basically dictate what's going to happen. Is it going to return to module XYZ or ABC? What is going to be the return action and the return ID? And there are other things that you can specify also. That's a pretty lengthy video. If you found it helpful, if you liked it, please just do let me know, because I'll be making more of these if you find it helpful, these live coding exercises. Or if not, also let me know. I would be curious to hear what you think.